Good morning, students. Today we are going to study about the chapter Body Fluids and Circulation. This chapter, we will be studying about the two parts. One is about the body fluid. So another part is about the circulatory system in human being. So this circulatory system in human being have several functions. So it helps to transport the nutrients from their sites of absorption to different tissues and organs for the storage, oxidation, or synthesis of tissue components. It also carries waste products of metabolism from different tissues to the organs meant for their action from the body. It transports respiratory gases like oxygen, carbon dioxide, etc. to the tissues and from the tissues to outside. It also carries metabolic intermediates from one tissue to another for their further metabolism. It transports informational molecules such as hormones from their sites to the origin to the tissues for various informations. It uniformly distributes water, H+ ion, chemical substances to all over the body. So this circulatory system have huge functions in our body. So you know human circulatory system is a closed type of circulatory system and which possesses well-developed organ called the heart, isn't it? So heart is the organ which first develops when the fetus shows its life. So heart is the one which first stops when the life ends. So life begins and ends with the starting as well as stoppage of the heartbeat. So he takes the types of blood circulation in human being. So the blood circulation in human being was first shown by Sir William Harvey. So according to him, our body is divisible into three types of circulation. First one is called the coronary circulation. In case of coronary circulation, the word coronary meant for the heart. So it involves the blood supply to the heart wall muscles as also from the muscles of the heart wall, so to the heart. So it involves the two categories. So there is a coronary arteries as well as coronary veins. So this coronary artery is one pair arising from the aortic arch just above the semilunar valve, and they break up into capillaries to supply oxygenated blood to the heart wall. So the coronary artery supplies the oxygenated blood to the heart muscles. Whereas coronary veins, they are numerous in number. They are collecting the deoxygenated blood from the heart wall muscles and directly that pour into the right auricles through the coronary sinus. So another type of circulation in human is called the pulmonary circulation. The word pulmonary means lung. So it includes circulation between the heart and the lungs. The right ventricle pumps the deoxygenated blood into the single thick vessel called pulmonary aorta, pulmonary artery, which ascends upward and outward. Heart get divided into longer right and short left pulmonary arteries running to receive the lungs. So then oxygenated blood which comes back from the lungs to the left side of the auricle through pulmonary vein. So this type of movement of blood from the heart to lungs and from the lungs to heart once again is called pulmonary circulation. Another type of circulation, that's a major circulatory system, so that is called the systemic circulation. In this circulation, the blood occurs transportation between heart and the body organs. The left ventricle pumps the oxygenated blood into the body via aorta, and then the vena cava, superior vena cava as well as inferior vena cava, which were the largest veins which carries the deoxygenated blood from all parts of body and which back into the right part of the atria. So thus the movement of the blood takes place from the body to heart and heart to body. Such circulation is called the systemic circulation. So for the circulatory system, the essential element is the blood. Even one more element is also present. So that is a fluid connective tissue, blood as well as lymph. Okay. So first we will study about blood and its various components. So this blood is a connective tissue which is composed of fluid matrix, that is nothing but plasma, and formed elements. So now we'll come to the plasma. So what is this plasma? Plasma is a straw-colored and viscous fluid. So it constitutes about 55% of the blood. So that is a major part of the blood is plasma, and about 90% of the plasma is water, and 6 to 8% is composed of protein. All this composition is important for the need. The major plasma proteins are fibrinogen, which is an active form, globulin, albumins, etc. This fibrinogen plays important role in blood clotting or blood coagulation mechanism. So globulins are mainly involved in defense mechanism. So immunoglobulins, various immunoglobulins like IgE, IgG, IgA, so IgD, IgM, all these are the various globular proteins. So its major function is to fight against the various microbes to enter our body, it will fight. So and albumins help in osmotic balance. Okay, so these functions are important. Small amount of minerals like sodium ion, calcium ion, magnesium ion, bicarbonate ion, chloride also present in plasma. Along with that, plasma also contain glucose, amino acids, lipids, etc. Factors for clotting of blood are present in the plasma in an inactive form. So plasma without clotting factor is called serum. So you should know what is serum. So the serum is nothing but plasma devoid of clotting factors. When the clotting factors are absent in the plasma, then we call it as a serum. So blood also consists of formed elements. The formed elements constitute about 45% of the blood. So you know 55% of the plasma and the 45% of the formed elements. These formed elements include erythrocytes, leukocytes, as well as platelets. So now we'll come to the RBC or erythrocytes. You know, these RBCs producing on the bone marrow, and it is the most abundant cells in the blood, and it is the smallest cell in our body also. In healthy adult, about 5 million to 5.5 million RBCs are present per cubic mm of blood. So 5 million to 5.5 million RBCs are present per cubic mm of blood. So then most of the mammals, so the nucleus is absent in the RBCs, but there are some exceptional cases like even camel, etc. possess the nucleus. RBCs are biconcave in shape. The red color is because of the iron containing protein or the pigment called hemoglobin. In healthy adult, each 100 ml of the blood contains 12 to 16 gram of hemoglobin. So how much? 12 to 16 gram of hemoglobin is present in 100 ml of blood. The average lifespan of RBC is around 120 days. RBCs are finally destroyed in the spleen, and hence the spleen is also called the graveyard of RBCs. RBC play a significant role in transport of respiratory gases, especially oxygen as well as carbon dioxide. So next formed element is a leukocyte or WBCs. So WBCs are nucleated and have various shapes of nucleus, and they are lesser in number comparing the RBCs. In healthy adult, about 6,000 to 8,000 WBCs are present per cubic mm of blood. Leukocytes are generally short-lived, and there are two main categories of WBCs. So that is that WBCs are broadly classified into granulocytes and agranulocytes. So under granulocytes, neutrophils, eosinophils and basophils are coming. Agranulocytes are lymphocytes and monocytes. So how to identify these neutrophils? So these neutrophils are multi-lobed nucleated cells. Multi-lobed nucleated cells. They are most abundant WBC and composed of 60 to 65% of overall WBC percentage. And monocytes, so they comprises about 6 to 8% of WBC. Neutrophils and monocytes are phagocytic cells. Here functions and composition is important. Another one is the basophils. So these basophils are the possess S-shaped nucleus, S-shaped nucleus, and the main function is they secrete histamine, serotonin, and heparin. This is important. Basophils secrete histamine, serotonin, and heparin. They are involved in inflammatory reactions. Next is eosinophils. So these eosinophils have the U-shaped nucleus, and they comprises 2 to 3% of WBCs. These resist infections are also associated with allergic reaction. Whenever there is a more allergy in our body, more eosinophils will be there in our body. So next is the lymphocyte. Lymphocyte comprises about 20 to 25% of the WBCs. There are two major types of lymphocyte, B lymphocyte as well as T lymphocyte. Both are responsible for immune responses of the body. Here you have to write the order of percentage, and you have to remember from increasing order, decreasing to increasing order, or from increasing to decreasing order, the composition you have to write and study as well as functions of various WBCs. Next we will come to the platelets. These also called thrombocytes. They are cells of fragments of megakaryocytes. These megakaryocytes are the type of WBCs which is having the very large nucleus. So its fragments are nothing but the platelets. It's also called thrombocytes. Megakaryocytes are the special cells in the bone marrow. Usually 1 cubic millimeter of blood contain so around 1,50,000 to 3,50,000 platelets. Platelets can release a varieties of substances. Most of these substances are involved in the blood coagulation. That is why you might have studied platelets helps in blood clotting. So these are the various shapes of the nucleus of WBCs here on the platelet as well as RBC. Next part is called the blood groups. Human blood grouping is called the ABO blood grouping, as well as even RH factor also involved in the blood grouping. For example, O positive. O is the ABO blood grouping system. Positive is the RH blood grouping system. So why this blood grouping is essential? During blood transfusion, the donor blood needs to be carefully matched with the blood of the recipient. So transfusion of unmatched blood can lead to the severe problems. So clumping, that is destruction of RBC. The blood group O can be donated to the person with any other blood group, and hence, so individual with O blood group is called a universal donor. A blood with the AB blood group can accept blood from all blood groups, hence such individual is called a universal recipient. Okay. ABO grouping is based on the presence or absence of two surface antigens, that is antigen A and B. Suppose if the RBC possesses antigen A, they are considered as a A blood group. If they have antigen B, they are considered as a B blood group. If the RBC possesses both A and B antigen, they are considered as a AB blood group person. If there is no antigen, so the individual is having the O blood group. So this blood group of a person can be detected by the presence or absence of the surface antigens, that is A and B. Antigens are the chemicals which can induce immune responses. The plasma also contains two natural antibodies. Antibodies are the protein to produce in response to antigens. So next, second thing is the RH grouping. So RH antigen is similar to one present in the rhesus monkeys. That's why the word RH came. It is also observed on the surface of RBCs. About majority, nearly 80% of the people possess this RH antigen on their surface of RBC. Such individuals are called RH positive. The one who is not having RH antigen are called RH negative blood group people. So what is the significance of this RH? So this RH negative person, if exposed to RH positive blood, will form a specific antibodies against RH antigen. Hence, RH group should also be matched before blood transfusion. So there is a special condition called erythroblastosis fetalis. So here the RH negative father, RH positive father and RH negative mother. So that is if they get married, so if the child become positive or the fetus become positive and the mother is here RH negative, fetus is RH positive. In the first pregnancy, so nothing will happen, but during delivery or the parturition process, there will be slight mixing up of the blood takes place. As a result, even the RH is mother is RH negative, they do not have the RH antigens, but during the parturition process, there will be slight mixing up of the blood takes place. So that is why the fetal RH antigen enters the maternal body and it produces anti-RH antibodies slowly in the maternal body. So the number of these anti-RH antibodies will gradually increases. Suppose once again if she become pregnant and the fetus is also having the positive blood group, so automatically what will happen, this anti-RH antibodies enters into the fetal body. So it destroys the RBCs of fetus. So So number of RBC going on ruptures and the number of RBCs gradually decreases in the fetal body. So that condition is called erythroblastosis fetalis. Erythro means RBC, blastosis, blast, fetalis, fetal body. So when it will happen, when the fetus is positive, mother is negative. Only such cases it happen. It will not happen when the mother is positive and the fetus is negative. Okay, it will happen only when the fetus is positive and the mother is negative. So that is why, so soon after the first delivery, this type of this type of ladies who is having the RH negative, and if her husband is RH positive, so soon after the first delivery, so they have to provide the anti-RH antibodies. Okay, so such cases, so they will not able to produce any such abnormality in the children. That is, they will not get such a erythroblastosis fetalis, so they can able to deliver the normal children. So this is a condition happens so when the RH is not matching. Next condition is called the coagulation of the blood. How does the blood clotting takes place? You know, whenever there is any injury, so the coagulation is the mechanism to prevent the excessive loss of blood in case of injury. So clot is dark reddish brown scum which is formed at the site of an injury over a period of time. So this is formed by a network of threads called fibrins in which dead and damaged formed elements of the blood are trapped. So thus clotting takes place. So first what is happening is inactive fibrinogen. You know, fibrinogen is the protein so which is present in the blood. So inactive form of fibrinogen is present in the plasma. It is converted by the enzyme thrombokinase into active fibrin. So thus thrombin is formed from the inactive prothrombin. So prothrombin is converting into thrombin now. So enzyme thrombokinase which is responsible for the conversion of prothrombin into thrombin. Prothrombin is the inactive form. So this complex is formed by a series of linked enzymatic reactions. So the process involved a number of factors in the plasma. In an inactive state, an injury stimulates the platelets to release certain factors which activate the mechanism of coagulation. In short form, thrombin splits fibrinogen to form fibrin. Fibrin fibers form the mesh over wound, trapping red blood cells and the platelets. Bleeding stops, clot harden and become smaller. New cells grow to repair the wound site. Enzyme plasmin is released to dissolve the clot. So thus wherever the clot happen after few days, so that will get disappear because of the presence of an enzyme called plasmin. So like this, the blood coagulation takes place. So for this process, calcium is also required, and the blood clotting factors, various factors also are required for the blood coagulation. So next we'll come to the blood vascular system. So when we go for the higher animals which have a well-developed circulatory system, so that the transport of substances in the body can be done very effectively. In them, circulatory system consists of a central pumping organ called heart and various blood vessels, arteries, veins and capillaries. You know, arteries conduct the blood from the heart to other tissues. Veins bring the blood from the tissues to the heart. So some of the invertebrates and all vertebrates possess this system, and the circulatory system was first demonstrated by the scientist called William Harvey. So this blood circulatory system are of two types, open as well as closed blood circulatory system. What is this open circulatory system? So most of the lower organism, they possess the open circulatory system. Even many advanced invertebrates like prawn, insect, and even mollusk, also blood does not remain confined to the blood vessel. In the sense, they also have the open circulatory system. You might have seen in case of cockroach, etc. So it flows in open circulatory system. There is no blood vessels. Blood flows freely through the body cavity, the channel called lacrinae, and cyanosis in the tissues. The body cavity is called hemocoel, and the blood is called hemolymph. In insects, the tissues are in direct contact with the blood. Hemolymph circulates in the whole body due to contractile activities of heart. So here, the blood just bathes the tissues. So here no blood vessels carries this hemolymph. Okay. This type of circulatory system is called open circulatory system without any blood vessels. Next, all the higher organisms possess the closed circulatory system, but there are some invertebrates like annelids also possess the closed circulatory system. In closed circulatory system, blood flows through the proper blood vessels named arteries, veins, and capillaries. Arteries within the tissues divided into arterioles, which then branch further to form capillaries. Capillaries then unite to form the venules, which come out of the tissues and in the form of veins. Arteries have thick and elastic and muscular walls, which are made up of three concentric layers. They are called tunica externa, outer layer, tunica media, middle layer, and tunica interna is the innermost layers. All these layers have got smooth and involuntary muscles. Capillaries are extremely very thin, and their walls, which are made up of single layer of endothelial cells. Capillaries do not possess any muscles. They have only one layer of cells. They are nothing but epithelium. Blood vessels epithelium is called endothelium. The muscles and elastic fibers are absent in them. These capillaries are highly permeable to water and small macromolecules. Various nutrients and respiratory gases, metabolites, and other substances are exchanged between the blood and tissues through these capillaries. That is a minute blood vessels called capillary, which joins the arteries and veins. So open and closed circulatory system, as we are already studied, this is open as well as closed circulatory system. So in open circulatory system, blood flows through the large open spaces. So in closed circulatory system, it passes through the blood vessels into the heart. Here tissues are direct contact with the blood. Here blood does not come in contact with the tissues. So in case of open circulatory system, blood flows very slowly, have low pressure, whereas when closed, blood flow is quite rapid, have high pressure. And in open circulatory system, exchange of gases and nutrients takes place directly between the blood and tissues. Here, nutrients and gases pass through the capillaries to the tissues, from where they are passed on to the tissues. So open circulatory system is less efficient as volume of blood flowing through the tissue cannot be controlled as the blood flows relaxation of the smooth muscles of the blood vessel. Open circulatory system is found in higher vertebrates, most of the arthropods, prawns, insects, etc. Closed circulatory system is found in case of annelids and all the vertebrates. Respiratory pigment, if present, is dissolved in plasma. RBCs are not present. So respiratory pigment is present, may not be dissolved in plasma. Usually it is present on the RBCs. Okay. So this is about the open and closed circulatory system, already said. So the closed circulatory system, arteries, veins and capillaries are required. So now we'll come to the major circulatory organ called heart. So heart is a central pumping organ of blood vascular system. So it is a hollow muscular structure and made up of cardiac muscle. You know, in our body, only one region which is made up of cardiac muscle, that is the heart. So it works throughout life rhythmically without getting tired. It is enclosed in a double membranous sac called pericardium. So heart is covered by pericardium. It is, so there are two layers, outer as well as inner. In between the two layers, the fluid is called pericardial fluid. So the number of the chambers, it will vary from the animals to animals. Various categories have various numbers of chambers in the heart. For example, if we take fishes or pisces, they possess the brachial heart. This muscular made up of cardiac muscle has two chambers. So one auricle as well as one ventricle. The heart is called the venous heart since it pumps deoxygenated blood to gills for oxygenation. This blood goes directly from gills to visceral organs. A sinus venosus and conus arteriosus is present. Lung fishes have two auricles and one ventricle, that is a little evolved form. So all the other fishes have only two chambers. We'll come to the next, amphibians. So amphibians have three-chambered heart, two auricles and one undivided ventricle. So it also has sinus venosus, truncus arteriosus. Right auricle receives the blood from all the visceral organs, that is the deoxygenated blood, via pre-caval and post-caval vein. Pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood to the lungs for oxygenation. This blood returns to the left auricle via pulmonary vein. Okay. So you can find the double circulation in case of amphibians are concerned, frog, toad, etc. Next, when we come to the reptiles, so reptilian heart, which is also made up of three chambers, but some exceptional cases are there. So crocodilian heart is four chambered. So left and right auricle incompletely divided ventricle. So ventricle in crocodilian as well as alligator is completely divided, so they possess the four-chambered heart-like caves. So sinus venosus, conus arteriosus divided into right systemic as well as left systemic and pulmonary arc. Next, when it comes to the birds, so bird is a homeothermic organism, and this bird possesses four-chambered heart, left and right auricle as well as left and right ventricle. Complete separation of arterial and venous circulation can be seen in four-chambered heart, just like human being. Only right systemic arch is present. Sinus venosus and truncus arteriosus is absent. And when it comes to the mammals, we human beings also belongs to mammals. Heart consists of 4 chambers, and complete separation of arterial and venous blood takes place. They have left systemic arch. Sinus venosus and truncus arteriosus are absent. So we'll study about the details of human heart. So the mammalian heart or the human heart, which includes hollow, cone-shaped muscular structure that lies in thoracic cavity above the diaphragm, in between the two lungs. You know, in between the two lungs, there is a space. That space is called the mediastinum. And that particular region, the left side, there will be a cardiac node. To that area, so the heart is present. So it is completely protected by the thoracic cavity. So it is about the size of fist, measuring about 12 centimeter in length and 9 centimeter in breadth, weighs about 300 grams. It is 4-chambered organ, so as you know, and the deoxygenated blood is received into the right auricle by superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. This vena cava opens directly into the right auricle as there is no sinus venosus. So right auricle also gets the blood from coronary veins. So from the heart itself by the coronary sinus. The right and left auricles are separated by interauricular septum. The two auricles are separated by the septum. Similarly, right and left ventricles also separated by interventricular septum. So there is a small hole in the fetus circulation in between the interauricular septum, that is called foramen ovale. Fetal circulation only you can see foramen ovale. And once during the delivery time, so that foramen ovale closes, only the depression can be seen, that is called fossa ovalis. So suppose if it is not closing during the parturition, so that the heart may have the holes, so they're mixing above the oxygenated and deoxygenated may take place. Fetal circulation is different than the circulation after the delivery. So deoxygenated blood is then passed from the, in case of right auricle, also gets the blood from coronary veins. So the right and left auricles are separated by interauricular septum, and the right and left ventricles also separated by the interventricular septum. Deoxygenated blood is then passed from the right auricle to the right ventricle through the atrioventricular aperture guarded by tricuspid valve. Atrioventricular aperture. So in the right side, so whereas left side it is bicuspid valve. The blood is then pumped into the lungs for oxygenation via pulmonary artery. So from the right ventricle, blood goes to the lungs by pulmonary artery. Which blood? Deoxygenated blood. After oxygenation, blood is brought back into the left auricle via 4 pulmonary veins. From left auricle, blood goes to the left ventricle through atrioventricular aperture. So, and this opening is regulated by the bicuspid valve. So this bicuspid valve is present in the left side. So bicuspid valve is also called mitral valve. The left ventricle has also got caudate tendineae and papillary muscles. So this caudate tendineae as well as papillary muscles, so which helps for the opening of both bicuspid as well as tricuspid valves. So from being pushed into auricles at the time of ventricular contraction, thus the walls of the left or ventricles are thicker than the walls of the right ventricles. As the blood pressure or the flow is high in the left side, so left wall is thicker. The oxygenated blood from the left ventricle is then distributed to all parts of the body with the help of aorta. So aorta is the largest artery. The opening of aorta is guarded by semilunar valve. Even pulmonary artery is also guarded by semilunar valve, so that prevents the backflow of the blood from aorta. So this is about the structure of human heart. So apart from this, so when you take the heart, so there are two nodes also you can find in the heart. So the right atria possesses the special type of heart muscles that is called nodal tissue, that is called SA node, sinoatrial node. And so on the beginning of the AV valve, so there is a AV node is present, atrioventricular node, that is also a special type of cardiac tissue only. So then there is a Purkinje fibers, bundle of His. All these are the special type of nodal tissue which helps in the contraction as well as relaxation of the heart muscles. Okay. So next we'll go for the cardiac cycle. What is this cardiac cycle? So this cardiac cycle is nothing but the sequential event in the heart which is cyclically repeated, called cardiac cycle. And it consists of systole as well as diastole. What is the systole? Systole is nothing but the contraction of the heart. Diastole is nothing but the relaxation of the heart. So both the atria or the auricle as well as ventricle get contract as well as relax. So this entire sequence we call it as a cardiac cycle. So in one heartbeat, what are the sequential event takes place? So that is cardiac cycle. So this cardiac cycle require around 0.8 seconds. So this cardiac cycle which include auricular systole. So first when the blood flows into the auricle, so when the blood is completely filled in the auricle, there is a special nodal tissue called SA node. So that initiate the cardiac impulses, and the cardiac impulses spread throughout the ventricle. Thus, the systole of the auricle takes place. So that is called auricular systole. And next, the valves, that is the bicuspid as well as tricuspid valve opens. Blood enters the ventricles. When the blood is filled in the ventricles, and the movement of this cardiac impulses passes from the SA node into the AV node. From the AV node, this cardiac impulses passes through the Purkinje fibers through bundle of His. Thus, the contraction of the ventricle begins from the lower side of the ventricle, and this is called ventricular contraction. So next, both the heart muscles, so that is the auricular muscles as well as ventricular muscles, both the chambers, so auricles as well as ventricles, they got relaxed. That is called diastole. All these events, the time required, total time required is 0.8 seconds. So 0.8 seconds is required for one cardiac cycle. Okay. So this cardiac cycle takes place due to the systolic as well as diastolic process of atria as well as ventricle. Next, so sounds. When you come to the, you might have seen the doctor keep the stethoscope, isn't it? So they feel the sound of the heart. There are two types of heart sounds can be seen. So the first heart sound is called the lub. Second heart sound is called the dub. So it is produced by the closure of bicuspid and tricuspid valve at the start of ventricular systole. Should know this. So first heart sound, that is a lub. So it is producing during the closure of tri and bicuspid valves. So it is having low pitch and less loud and long duration of time. It lasts around 0.15 seconds. Whereas sound dub, so it is produced by closure of semilunar valve. I told semilunar valves are present on the pulmonary artery as well as aorta. So when these closes, so there is a sound called dub. It is high pitch sound. It is louder and sharper, but it remains short duration and around 0.1 second. Okay. So this is about the two types of heart. So here you should know when does it happens, whether it is low pitch or high pitch, etc. So the circulation of blood through the heart. So how does the circulation takes place? Okay. The heart pumps blood to all parts of the body. The deoxygenated blood is drained into the right auricle through superior and inferior vena cava and coronary sinus, whereas the pulmonary vein carries the oxygenated blood from the lungs to the left auricle. So about 70% of the auricular blood passes into the ventricles during diastole. This phase is called this phase is called diastasis. The rest of 30% of the blood passes into the ventricle due to auricular systole. Auricular systole is nothing but the contraction of the auricle. In this way, blood reaches the ventricles and it is called ventricular filling. During ventricular systole, which starts first in the left ventricle, then in the right ventricle, the pressure increases in the ventricle, thus forcing the oxygenated blood from left ventricles into aorta and deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle into coronary artery. The systemic arch distributes the oxygenated blood to all parts of the body except lungs, while pulmonary arteries carries the deoxygenated blood to the lungs for oxygenation. So this is how does the movement of the blood takes place in our body. Okay. Now we have to study some of the terms related to this. So the needed is important. Stroke volume. What is this stroke volume? So stroke volume is the volume of blood pumped from one ventricle of the heart with each heartbeat. So how much volume of the blood pumped from one ventricle each heartbeat? So that is called the stroke volume. So it can be measured in ml per beat. So stroke volume is calculated using the measurement of ventricle volume from an echocardiogram, subtracting the volume of blood in the ventricles at the end of the beat from the volume of blood just prior to the beat. Okay. So around 70 ml is a healthy human beings. So stroke volume, that is equal to 70 ml. So stroke volume is an important determinant for cardiac output. So now what is this cardiac output? So this cardiac output is nothing but the stroke volume into heart rate. So now you know what is stroke volume. Stroke volume is the volume of blood pumped out from each ventricle. I said it is equal to around 70 ml. Slight variation may come. Based on that, you may get the questions for the NEET. So they may give stroke volume, heartbeat, you know. So you have to find out stroke volume. They may give different stroke volume. So you have to find out the cardiac output, or they may give cardiac output and you have to find out the stroke volume like that. So we should know the equation cardiac output is equal to stroke volume into heart rate. So average heart rate is equal to 70 to 72. Average stroke volume is equal to around 70 to 80, but we are taking it as a 70. Average cardiac output is equal to 5000 ml per minute. So slight variation may come from the person to person. So next thing is pulse pressure. Pulse rate is okay. You know, pulse, you can feel the radial artery of your chest. Sometimes doctor is holding your street to identify the pulse. So that is equal to the heart rate, 72 times per minute. So pulse pressure is the difference between the systolic and diastolic pressure. Difference between the systolic and diastolic pressure. Commonly, normal systolic pressure is 120 mm per Hg, and the diastolic pressure is equal to 80 mm Hg. Systolic pressure is during the contraction of the heart. The diastolic pressure during the relaxation of heart. So systolic pressure minus diastolic pressure. So 120 minus 80, that is equal to 40 mm Hg. Pulse pressure is equal to 40 mm Hg. So pulse rate and pulse pressure are different. You know your normal BP, isn't it? Blood pressure 120 per 80 is your normal BP. So this heart rate and the pulse, how does it is correlated? In the resting condition, human heartbeat rate about 70 to 72 times per minute, but the heart rate increases during exercise, fever, emotions like anger, fear, etc. During each heartbeat, the blood is pumped from the ventricles of the heart into the aorta to be distributed to all parts of the body. This happens during ventricular systole and is repeated every 0.8 seconds. The blood from aorta then goes to other arteries of the heart. This causes a rhythmic contraction in aorta and its main arteries. It can be felt as regular jerk or pulse in the regions where arteries are present, superficially like wrist, neck, temples, etc. You might have feel the heart beat. So this is known as arterial pulse. The pulse rate is therefore same as that of the heart rate. This heartbeat rate differs from species to species. In general, smaller the animal, greater is the heartbeat. Hence, larger animals have lower heart rates. For example, an elephant has normal heartbeat rate about 25 times per minute, whereas mouse has normal heartbeat rate several hundreds as per minute. So it depends on the various animals, but commonly, so smaller animals have more heartbeat comparing the larger animals. So automatic rhythmicity of the heart. The mammalian heart is myogenic heart. So what is this myogenic heart? That is a heartbeat originate from the muscle itself. So such heart is called myogenic heart. So that is a cardiac impulse originate from the heart muscles, that is called myogenic heart. In case of some of the organisms like prawn, etc., they possess the neurogenic heart. Whereas the heartbeat, so nervous system is the one which helps to begin the heartbeat. So here heart is myogenic myogenic as the muscles so are the one from where the origin of cardiac impulse takes place. In the right atrium, near the region where the superior vena cava opens, a special muscle called sino-auricular node or SA node is present, where the heartbeat originates. I already said SA node, sino-atrial node or sino-auricular node. It is also called pacemaker. Okay. So pacemaker is richly supplied with blood capillaries. A wave of contraction originates from it and spreads over the whole heart. Okay. So those who have problem in that, so they are fixing the artificial pacemaker. So SA node is a natural pacemaker. At the junction of right atrium and right ventricle, a tissue called auriculoventricular node, it is also called AV node, is present that picks up the wave of contraction propagated by SA node. So next it passes through the bundle of its branches of this spread over the ventricle forming the Purkinje fibers. The wave of contraction spread over the ventricles through AV node and its Purkinje system. The heart is supplied with vagus or parasympathetic and sympathetic nerve fibers. The vagus nerve is inhibitory and so when stimulated slows down the heartbeat, while the sympathetic nerve is acceleratory and so when stimulated fasten the heartbeat. So which nerve fasten the heartbeat? Sympathetic. Whereas some parasympathetic helps to reduce the heartbeat. Whenever fear, etc., sympathetic nervous system is the one which stimulates to increase the heartbeat. Okay. So if you wanted to know the neurogenic and myogenic heart differences, the neurogenic heartbeat is initiated by ganglion situated near the heart. Myogenic heartbeat is initiated by the patch of modified heart muscles, nodal tissues. The impulse of contraction originates from nervous system. Impulse of contraction originates itself in the heart muscles. The heart normally stops beating immediately after removal from the body. Therefore, heart transplantation is not possible in neurogenic heart. Heart removed from the body continues to beat for some time. Therefore, heart transplantation is possible. They may ask question in the need to how the heart transplantation is possible in human being. Because the heart cardiac impulses begins from the heart itself. So it is a myogenic heart. That's why transplantation can be possible. Here example some annelid and arthropod etc. Already I said hearts of the human being, higher vertebrates etc. This is already I told. So if you want to once we call it cardiac fraction 200 ml per minute, hepatic fraction 1500 ml per minute, renal fraction 1300 ml per minute, myofraction 600 to 900 ml per minute, cephalic organ 700 to 800. So next we'll discuss about the pressure or arterial blood pressure. Blood pressure is a very common word which we use. The pumping action of the heart maintains the pressure of the blood in the arteries. This is called arterial blood pressure. It helps to pump the blood at a high velocity along the arteries in the closed circulatory system. The blood pressure is far lower than the open circulatory system. The blood pressure is low in veins because blood flows through the narrow arteriole and capillaries to enter wider veins. So at the many places in body, this blood pressure is not sufficient to drive the blood through the veins back to the heart. So veins have thinner walls than the arteries and are more easily compressed. There are so many valves inside the veins. These valves permit the flow of blood in the veins towards the heart and prevents the flow in the reverse direction. You know, veins have the valves. Valves avoid the backward flow of the blood. Contraction of the muscle and changes of the body posture compresses the veins to move the blood inside them. During these both cases, blood moves towards the heart only because of the venous valve present in the blood flow in the opposite direction. This is a major process for venous blood flow. So next we will come to the ECG or electrocardiogram. Electrocardiogram. So it's a very common term which we use. So commonly, if any people have the heart problem or some problems associated with the chest pain, etc., they go and take ECG, isn't it? So ECG is nothing but electrocardiogram. So that is a graphical representation of cardiac events. So this ECG, what are the things ECG consists of? So depolarization waves, they present the generation of potential difference. These waves appear only when both electrodes of galvanometer are in different field. When both the electrodes are in the same field, there is no deflection and wave drops down to the base of the line. Repolarization wave, you can see in that. They appear when depolarization is over and the muscle fiber is returning to its original polarity when both the electrodes are in the same polarity. So based on that, these waves are specifically we are using some of the letters for this depolarization wave as well as repolarization wave. So P wave. So here you can see in the diagram P. So this P wave indicates, it's very, very important for the NEET. P wave indicates the impulse of contraction generated by SA node and it spreads in atria, causing atrial depolarization. So P wave indicates the atrial depolarization. So the depolarization, nothing but the contraction. The interval PQ represents the atrial contraction takes 0.1 second. Next, QRS. You can see QRS. QRS indicates the spread of impulses of contraction from AV node to the wall of the ventricle through bundle of His and Purkinje fibers, causing ventricular depolarization. That is nothing but the ventricular systole. Okay, QRS. So QRS indicates the ventricular systole, depolarization ventricular. Okay. Next, the RS of QRS wave and ST interval shows ventricular contraction 0.3 second. QRS is related to the ventricular systole. Okay. So QRS ventricular systole or depolarization of ventricle. T wave auricular systole or depolarization of auricle. Next to last, you can find your T wave. This T wave indicates the repolarization during ventricular relaxation. Repolarization means the diastole. So it indicates the repolarization during ventricular relaxation. Ventricular relaxation is nothing but the ventricular diastole. So that is a PQRS. Next, in a short way, we will study about the lymph and tissue fluid. Okay. So we'll study about the functions of lymph. So first of all, this lymph is nothing but the colorless fluid which is producing from the blood itself. So this lymph which also carries fat, and which also consists of WBCs, etc. So the functions of lymph, it serves to return interstitial fluid into the blood. So it serves to return interstitial fluid into the blood. The plasma proteins, macromolecules synthesized by the liver cells, cannot pass into the blood vessel, but it can diffuse into the lymph vessels through their wall, and they come into the blood through the lymph. So the lymph can carry some of the plasma proteins. It also carries absorbed fat. You might have studied the intestine villi consists of lacteal. Lacteal is a lymphatic vessel which absorbs the fat. So it also carries the absorbed fat and lipids from the small intestine to the blood in the form of chylomicron droplets. Okay. This lymphatic system is an extension of circulatory system. It consists of fluid known as lymph capillaries, and lymphatic ducts. Lymph, it can be defined as a blood minus RBC. When the blood divide of RBC, we call it as a lymph. In addition to the blood vascular system, all vertebrate possess lymphatic system. It is also the liquid or the fluid connective tissue. It is colorless or yellowish fluid present in the lymph vessels. It is mobile connective tissue like blood and is formed by the filtration of the blood. So the blood and lymph are closely associated. Lymph capillaries, small thin lines by endothelium resting on a basement membrane and fine whose one end is by and other end is unite to form the lymphatic ducts. Always lymph drains from the blood capillary region. So from the capillary region, so there is a fluid as well as WBCs which passes through the capillary by the process called diapedesis. So that enters the interstitial fluid. When it will be absorbed by this lymphatic capillary, we use the word lymph. So lymphatic duct or vessels, numerous in number, present in various parts of the body. These vessels are like veins as they have all the three layers like tunica externa, tunica media and tunica interna. They are provided with the vast pocket or semilunar valve, but valves are more in number than the veins. So even lymphatic ducts also possess the valve which avoid the backflow of the lymph. Lymph always moves in only one direction. So for example, where the capillary present, from that capillary the WBCs etc. which will move to the interstitium. From the interstitium the fluid will enter into the lymphatic capillary, then it goes to the lymph vessels larger, and all these lymph vessels finally joins to the superior vena cava. So lymph moves always in one direction, whereas the blood moves two directions. Okay, so it moves to the heart as well as from the heart it goes to the body. So whereas lymph moves in single direction. The last part of this chapter, before that I wanted to tell about the double circulation. Human circulation is called double circulation as it involves the two kinds of major circulation. Already I have discussed in the beginning, pulmonary circulation as well as systemic circulation. Okay. Pulmonary circulation, movement of the blood from the heart to lungs and from lungs to heart. There is systemic circulation, movement of the blood from the body to heart as well as from the heart to body. Even portal system also comes under the systemic circulation, hepatic portal system, renal portal system, etc. Now we will go for the last part of this chapter, that is the various disorders associated with the circulatory First one is high blood pressure or hypertension. It's a common phenomenon nowadays, isn't it? So the blood pressure is increasing. So it is a term for the blood pressure, it is higher than the normal pressure. You should know it is a normal pressure, it is 120/80. The instrument which is used to measure the BP, that is sphygmomanometer. So it shows 120 systolic pressure and the 8 is the diastolic pressure. Systole is nothing but the contraction of the heart, diastole is nothing but the relaxation of the heart. Okay. If it is more than that, we call it as a hypertension. Okay. Suppose if it exceeds systolic pressure, if it exceeds around 140, etc., and the diastolic pressure, if it exceeds 90. Okay. So if it shows 140 above and 90 above, then it is called hypertension, high BP. Low BP also there, hypotension we call it as a. There, this diastolic pressure as well as systolic pressure will be low. Okay. So your systolic pressure should be less than 90, diastolic pressure should be less than 70, then we call it as a hypotension or low BP. So high BP may lead to the heart attack, etc. And it affects the brain. Sometimes brain hemorrhage may come due to the high blood pressure. So the blood vessel which ruptures when it passes the blood to the brain, etc. Okay. Coronary artery disease, generally called CAD. Under coronary artery disease, atherosclerosis, one of the disease. It is due to the damage in the blood vessels of heart tissues. Basically, it is due to deposition of calcium, fat, cholesterol, and fibrous tissues, which makes the lumen of the artery narrower, so that the artery will become more and more narrower, so that the blood passage will be reduced. So that is called coronary artery diseases, atherosclerosis, even arteriosclerosis, etc. Another thing is called angina, angina pectoris. So it is acute chest pain due to less oxygen supply to the heart. When the heart muscle is not getting enough amount of oxygen, you know oxygen is highly required for the contraction and relaxation of the heart. So if there is a low amount of oxygen to the heart muscle, so there will be severe chest pain. So that condition is called angina. Even just before heart attack also you can find this angina pain. Next is a heart failure. So this angina may lead to the heart attack also. Heart failure. It is a state when heart is not pumping the blood effectively to the organs of the body. Heart attack and heart failure is different. So heart attack, when the oxygen amount is reduced, tissues will die in the heart region. So that is a heart attack. So your heart could not able to pump the blood. So heart gets failure. So that is the state when heart is not pumping the blood